editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for the special Thursday edition of Live at the State House. Want to let you know the breaking news on GoLocal nationally if you've not seen. Bill Cosby found guilty. You can read that on GoLocalProv.com. But all the news is taking place up here as we speak. Senator James Sheehan, thank you for joining us on Live as today. We just had Majority Leader Joe Shekarchi on.
Freudian slip, perhaps. Yeah.
To talk about, again, this is, we talked about a number of things, but he is not, in fact, looking to run for Warwick Mayor now that Scott Evedijian is going to head up RIPTA. Talked about a few other things as well. But we're going to switch chambers. We're going to head over to the Senate side, talk with the senator about legislation to reform the magistrate process.
Yes.
This has been a very big issue in the state, not just this year, in the last several years, to make it a merit-based process as opposed to the one that we have now. Common Cause is behind this. What are you hearing from folks with this particular piece of legislation?
I'm hearing, well, it depends on the folks that you talk to. It's pretty quiet inside the Beltway, so to speak. But with good government groups and others, certainly very supportive. Magistrates are effectively junior judges. They do many of the things and have many of the powers of judges, yet they're picked by the Chief Justice of that court. So it's family court, the Chief Judge of the family court that nominates that person, and then they get advice consent of the Senate, and they serve for a 10-year term. Now, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that for two reasons. One, are we getting the best qualified candidate is one. So I'm uncomfortable with that. I'd like to rather see them go through a judicial nominating commission that regular judges go through, that's well vetted. They get testimony, they scrutinize those candidates, and the governor ultimately picks. The other is a lot of people just don't know if it's a connected thing. You know, it gives that appearance. I don't think that's good. And particularly, I don't want to see one branch of government selecting their own. You don't see a senator selecting another senator. You don't see a representative selecting another senator. I'm just uncomfortable. It's a disservice to even those candidates that become magistrates because of that appearance that it's not about what you know, but the who you know.
And you talk about the pushback from inside the Beltway, inside the Benefit Street sort of complex, if you will. Besides having the rationale of saying why they want to be able to choose it, I mean, the opposition, they know the optics that the public is paying attention to this legislation. Is it a time frame issue? Is it, you know, how are they saying besides, is it just we know best?
Well, it's funny you say that. I haven't really heard many arguments in opposition. This might be one that's better discussed for some people out of the public eye and not necessarily in the public eye. I don't know what the argument is, because I think if you really want to get the public behind the courts and have the most confidence in them, you want to make certain that you have what are verifiably, to the best of our ability, the best candidates selected on their merits, their abilities, and not basically who they might know.
And so we talk about what you're hearing from constituents and the general public, but what do you think the chances are of it up here? You've got the Senate side, of course, a House companion. Is there potential for it this year?
I can't really say. I don't know. I would say that the odds are probably more aligned against it than in favor of it. But this is one of those things that just wasn't long ago. We had the ethics amendment, which was very unpopular inside the Beltway, so to speak. But ultimately, if you get enough public support, they understand the legislation and they know it's for the public good, they get behind it. So this is a multi-year effort, and I'm willing to stay the course.
Okay, we're going to continue to keep eyes on this, but one of the questions I have to ask legislators as I've been up here, since I've had conversations with the Speaker, Paw Sox. It looks like the Speaker of the House has been in conversations with the ownership of the Pawtucket Red Sox after we saw very quickly going into session the approval on the Senate side, stalled on the House side. What do you think the prospects are?
I don't know. It's really been operating on the House side. I've only heard from people I talked to that there may be a possibility, outside possibility, that they find a deal that was satisfied. People are concerned. I'm one of the people that has been concerned. We've talked about this, about the public not really being saddled with a stadium they can't use should anything go awry with the Pawtucket Red Sox or their ability to pay the state back essentially for that rent.
And, you know, we've seen the vetting process. We saw the vetting process leading up to the Senate approval again back in January. We're here. It's the end of April. You know, we talk about how many more days we have left now in the session.
Right.
But would we have to go through the process once again if it's something completely different than what we saw go through the Senate the first time?
Depends upon what the solution is. I'm not at liberty to say what I've heard. It was based on confidential agreement that I don't repeat it. But there's a possibility that you could actually have the same bill and that you could provide some assurances that the public won't get stuck holding the bag, but somebody else might.
Very interesting as we keep an eye on what's going on here at the Rhode Island State House. But again, wanted to bring some light to this magistrate legislation. Would you call it good government, open government?
Good government. I mean, you want to have the best outcomes, and if we have the best magistrates, I think that breeds confidence in the courts and provides essentially on the ground greater justice to be served.
We'll provide a link to that bill number for you, but just wanted to, again, get the senator here on live to talk a little bit more about it.
I think we could raise the bar, is what I guess we'd say.
Raise the bar, says Senator Sheehan. I appreciate you taking the time to come all the way across here, the Senate chamber in the back. Yeah. Senator Sheehan, thank you for coming on live. Kate. I appreciate it. We'll let you go. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rhode Island State House and GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us today. We did kick off with Majority Leader Joe Shekarchi. One of the burning questions around the state, would he be interested in running for the seat soon to be vacated by Warwick Mayor Scott Avedisian? The answer is no. He is focused solely on the State House, talked about the issues at hand up here, had the opportunity to talk as well with Senator James Sheehan about his bill pertaining to the magistrate selection process. Wants to make it a merit-based one, not an appointment one. We'll have that link to that bill up as well. But speaking of politics, we're going to be tacking back downtown to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Former State Representative Ray Rickman will kick off with his big view. We'll also have the ripple effect. This is the DOT's campaign to raise awareness for impaired driving. And speaking of big political news, a new entrant into the Providence mayoral race will be in studio at GoLocal. So take a little break. We'll see you at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center at 4. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel.